Good morning all and welcome back to the desk, the Grump Desk. Today I want to have a bit of a yarn to you about the quality of councillors and that we elect in our areas. As you know, probably I live in the Ipswich area, under the Ipswich City Council, and their council is probably unlike a lot of the ones in the city where we have the city area, and when you move outside the city area, you can go into the country, the likes of Rosewood and areas out Grantchester, Willowbank, and pretty extensive country areas where there's a fair bit of country cattle and areas that do exist. And I don't know whether you've noticed a lot, some of you people in the city, the quality of people that you do get representing you like that is pretty reflective on the population that they also represent. I'm in an area now in Thurgoona Rosewood area, which is under a bit of attack as far as development goes, and it was a country area. Most of us here run cattle at some stages in our life, or had cattle or larger animals, horses and all that sort of stuff on it. And sometimes it's very hard, to be fair to some of the councillors, to understand the difference between the likes of the city and the requirements of the people in the country. It takes a certain side of a person to be able to do that. And that's fine. And it's also up to us electors to be able to pick the people who can do our job for us. And so it's pointless having and I'm going to call it like a city slicker, trying to understand how a cattle or a person on a horse works, and what their requirements are. They can pretend that they can get over it and they can go back inside, but they've never done it. You know, people they're out of their, how would you say, their work specification. But a lot of them pretend and play the game and go all the way through it until it gets to a point where, we get down to the nitty-gritty type parts of things, and then they've actually got to go on the floor of their council and make a decision on us, with possibly not the very best of qualifications, but they do listen to some of their advisors that the council give them. And some of those advisors, and they're good public servants, I don't disagree with that. But they may not know exactly what's going on. And I think you probably find the further you get away from the city, the better quality of local council it goes, because the people in those outer councils that I've had a fair bit to do with, they're a little bit more selective on the people that they elect. So that's something you might choose to keep in mind. And I know the city is coming towards the Thurgoona way, and that's the way. But I think that's something we really need to look at when you look for a councillor. Vote local. Don't get caught going for the how would you say, the fleary ones, or the ones that are well and truly well presented, I should imagine, or anything. I wouldn't say even well presented. I'd say not representative of the people that actually live in the areas. That's the more what I'm trying to get, the point I'm trying to get across. Anyway, with that in mind, I also want to move on a little bit further to an area that we've actually doing here at Thurgoona, and we are in the process now of getting ready for the influx of people, and they're trying to get the protection of what our community is all about, and that is having a lifestyle, a living alongside with the natural environment here. Koalas, echidnas, you name it, snakes, the works. Typical Australian landscape, more or less. And we have some pretty unique. It's a pretty unique area. It's a pretty unique Girral Road community to protect. We feel we can protect it anyway for a little while. And the council must have recognised it this week, because they have, on the main Rosewood Caravan Road, or Caravan Rosewood, whatever you want to call it, road, they have a magic sign has appeared declaring it as a wildlife corridor, and the people they're urging motorists to slow down, not to damage the wildlife. Now, I don't actually know. There's been a fair bit of pressure brought on by the local girls in that around the area, and the Facebook page, and it's well and truly the people in the area are knowing exactly what's going on. So that's a bit of a tick for them, because I think the message might have snuck through to our councillors that probably this Saturday too might have sneaked out that we're having a meeting with the media on Saturday morning at 9 o'clock at the top of Girral Road, which is going to be a rather interesting exercise, because the media has taken notice of what we're saying in the place, and a couple of heads are starting to pop up. So we'd like to see you there if you're watching this. I'd love to see you, a few more people sitting up the road other than the local community. But if you're interested, please come along, 9 o'clock at the top of the road. Okay, now, once this estate they've got going in at the top of our road starts to kick off, they've got to supply services to it. And this is another area that the councillors should be looking at, and how they design their estates and how they can come to terms with delivering those estates. And you have to deliver services like electricity, sewage, water, and that to those services. And the way they do that in the city-wise, probably is they use open trench technology. I wouldn't say open; it's not technology. They just get a machine and they dig a bloody hole and fill it full of pipes and close it back up again. And that's been the standard, even when I started with Telstra, back in the 70s. But what's happening since then is there's new technologies come along called directional boring. Now, directional boring is when you can actually drill holes underneath the ground and leave the topsoil in place. So you go underneath things like trees, roads and all that sort of stuff, and you'll often see beside roads the machine digging up, going underneath a road instead of open cutting it. And that has its massive advantages, really, because even when I was with Telstra, the use of under road boring and under directional boring is becoming more and more popular, and it's becoming more and more cost effective. And politically, when you particularly when you have to open up, if you take into consideration the excavator that you have to hire, you take into consideration the staff required in the excavator to maintain that, the amount of damage you do knocking down trees, imposing on the nature, opening it all up, men putting the stuff in the ground, the bedding requirements of the conduit, then closing the trench back up at the end of the day, getting rid of all the trees and all that sort of stuff up on top of it, and then maintaining it after it's finished, so you don't get erosion. And you have to maintain it during construction, so there's no erosion of that. And then the reinstatement of the topsoil. Now that all costs money. All costs money. And at the end of the day, and I'm not sure whether council looks at that or even makes it part of a development plan. Or they just hand everything over to the developer and say, okay, that's your deal or whatever, and then divorce themselves from what actually happens on the ground, and they just blame the developer. That should be part of a development application. How are you going to do this, and at the end of the day how you're going to leave it. And they can, again, council can walk away and say, oh no, that's the developer's fault. And they do that. It's just the duck shove, the actual duck shove. But there's no need for that if part of the application they can say, we want you to make use of, if you want to build in our area, we want you to make use of things like directional boring and maximise that use. So we're in a situation here at the back of some of our properties, there's going to be a sewage main go down. And a sewage main which probably extend the end of our street, which is probably, I'd say, about 1 kilometre, a little bit more. And they're going to go down the back of people's homes here and knock down all the trees so they can get their excavator in, open it up, then close it up and walk away. Imagine that, that's fine, but they've also decreased the living space of the existing wildlife up there now. So the wildlife has moved from where they've actually cleared the land, which I've showed you before. It's moving back into our residential areas here, and we're accommodating that. You know, we've got echidnas moving in, we've got koalas moving in, and we've got all that sort of wildlife moving back now towards us, and sadly back towards the main road. They're being forced back towards the main road. So, and the people of Girrell Road and surrounding neighbours are aware of that, and we're making allowances and making preparations quietly amongst ourselves to accommodate that refuge, if we can supply that refuge for our animals. So in doing that, we would like some support, but obviously the council is not going to help us. They're going to hand this over to the developer. But what we are saying, and we'll be saying to the media as well, why aren't you using this idea of directional boring? Because we don't have to open up behind our houses. We can go in underneath that thing. We can maintain the trees. We can maintain what the wildlife corridors that they've gladly put up those signs to say watch out for people, but they're not. Well, they're talking the talk, but they're not walking the walk. And that's something we expect you, our councillors, to represent us. And I hope to see you up there with this thing on Saturday, but I very much doubt it. But anyway, we'll just see. But you will, you will, one way or another, listen to the people. Okay? If you don't listen to us now, I'm sure you won't be there next time. I can give you the guts now. So, and that's not a threat. That's probably a promise. So what I'm saying is that the people around the place, particularly the people in the outer areas of Ipswich, need some support. So I'm getting a little bit tight here. I'm sorry, but the fact of the matter is it's a very important issue for us, because most of us, I've said before, have been here over 40 years, and we're just getting to the stage where we are getting a little bit concerned, or more concerned, about the future of our nature. So on that note, I'd just like to probably close, and I appeal to people who do live in the local areas and that around the place. Have a good look from here on in on performance of the people, and please start considering yourselves or whatever if you'd like to have a go at representing us, the people who are on the ground outside the areas. If you feel you have a job, don't be scared to put your hand up. I know I had to go at it twice and got belted, but it certainly opens your mind up, and then seeing how things are done, and you'll understand it more once you've been in in the fight for public office. Okay, thanks very much for that today, and hope to see you shortly. Bye.